The definition of insanity, man. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and expecting change. Yeah, we're not gonna get any change, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. Today, what we're doing is we're doing the same thing we've been doing all year. And that's talking about how bad the situation is in Vancouver. And believe me, I know that the tides have been changing in terms of the fan sentiment and how people react to these videos and how people respond to discourse with the team. But every time somebody says something, I want to talk about it. And that's kind of my job at this point, to regurgitate various talking points as mentioned by different insiders, analysts, and other people in the hockey world that I find worthy enough to pay attention to. Because earlier yesterday, on Donnie and Dolly, you had Elliotte Friedman make an appearance as to how everything in Vancouver has been going. We'll just leave it at that for now. But if you head over to the Canucks News Summaries Twitter page, there was indeed a summary about what it was that Elliotte Friedman spoke about on yesterday's edition of D&D. And this, of course, is interesting for us to dive into. There are a number of things that we can discuss with Elliotte Friedman, but the biggest thought that I thought was interesting was the second note on the Canucks News Summaries summary. Vancouver market as a destination. Friedman speaks about how the instability of this past season has really hurt the perception of Vancouver for UFAs. A year ago, the Canucks would have been a lot higher on UFA's preferred destinations. But now, top players, they would want to know about Quinn Hughes' future. There's no doubt that Vancouver's rating as a UFA destination has dropped down after this past season. Ay. You know, the funny part is, and no, it's not funny. I just say funny because I try to make things interesting when they're not really. This is more sad and depressing, and it's just beating up the dead horse that is the Vancouver Canucks' hopes and dreams at this point. But the funny part is, nobody needed Elliotte Friedman to go out there and confirm this for us. Like, we already knew this. Maybe subconsciously, deep down, internally within, under the layers and layers of actual hope that we have for this team, a lot of folks were sort of thinking, yeah, this Pettersson and Miller stuff sucked. It was so bad. It was so ugly. And it put the team in such a bad position to progress with the way that they performed on the ice. And now Quinn Hughes wants to leave, and they traded away Miller, and they didn't get any better. And now teams are not going to be looking at the crazy playoff run that was last season and saying, yeah, that's an amazing on the up and up situation over there in Vancouver. I want to sign there. Nah, nobody's going to be looking at Vancouver and saying that. They're going to be saying, what the hell happened with these two guys? That top paid center in Elias Pettersson stinks now. And Quinn Hughes is going to leave. Rick Tocchet already left this team too. He quit. And now Elliotte Friedman speaking about it on Donnie and Dolly. Teams are not going to be looking at the Vancouver Canucks in the same way anymore. And now it's boiled over onto Twitter in posts like this. Take a look at this post made by Blue Line Bar Down. Dollywall just asked Friedman on Donnie and Dolly if it's true free agents don't want to come here. Friedman said, yes, the Petey and Miller drama really hurt players wanting to come here. Welp, Miller is gone, but Pettersson is still here. Free agents still don't want to come. Thanks, EP40 points. Now, I will say, this tweet is a little bit misleading. It doesn't fully contextualize the way that Friedman made the statements that he made, and the top comment goes out there and says that, hey, that's a horrible generalization of what Friedman actually said. He said the instability of what happened in Vancouver this season, which is a mix of everything, probably put Vancouver lower on most players' lists than before. That doesn't mean that nobody wants to come here. A reply says that Dollywall paraphrased Rutherford's report to the media in the form of a question to Elliott seconds after Frege made a high-maintenance joke about Pettersson. How Nuge is low maintenance. I'm sure you're familiar with subtext. Now, of course, the Friedman interview and the Donnie and Dolly stint is all on YouTube. You could go out there and watch it yourself. Everything is available on the internet nowadays. But the scoop itself of Friedman saying that Vancouver is no longer in this high-tier destination spot, it's just going to make Patrik Allvin's job even harder. Like, they were already having a difficult job bringing in top-tier free agents last year. They weren't able to get Tyler Toffoli, or Sam Reinhart, or Jake Gensel. They had to settle for Jake DeBrusk. And while DeBrusk is a fine hockey player, and he's making a fine dollar amount, not expensive, really, it's kind of reasonable for what he provides, Jake DeBrusk was the top guy, and he was the best guy. And now, we're heading into an offseason where the Canucks probably won't be able to outdo themselves compared to last season. So, yeah, they're going to have to trade for a second-line center, aren't they? They're going to have to shell out some young prospects and assets to really get the best replacement on their team, aren't they? This team could be in full implosion mode year in, year out, just trying to muster together a roster that is good enough that Quinn Hughes will want to stick around and be in Vancouver to play with long term. And now it's like, yeah, they need a top center. They need a second center, and I'm saying they need a top center because EP40 isn't really that anymore. They need goaltending that actually knows how to stay healthy. They need more bottom support wingers. They need more guys to make up for the production that was missing this previous year. Connor Garland is Connor Garland. That guy's not going to stick around long term either. And the Canucks could be on the fringe of maybe forcing Aquilini to sell more of this team, potentially to an owner that is more okay with the rebuild. Hey. This sucks, man. Like, every new report is a negative one. And I think, ultimately, I'm just super excited to get some positive Vancouver news for once. Like, oh yeah, whoop-de-doo, the Abbotsford Canucks are doing amazingly well, and they're in they're in the fourth round of the Calder Cup playoffs. They're in the Western Conference Finals. They're doing well. That's great Canucks conversation, but of course, you know, making videos on the Abby Canucks and their playoff run does not turn as many heads as Elliotte Friedman speaking about the Canucks in a negative way, the main Canucks, by the way, on Donnie and Dolly. So with that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Elliotte Friedman confirms the worst for the Vancouver Canucks, folks. Players probably don't want to come here as much as they did last year, and it's not like the best ones even wanted to come here last year anyway. So how do you respond to that? If you're Patrik Allvin, what moves do you make? Who do you target? And where do the Vancouver Canucks go for next season and beyond? Let me know in the comment section all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.